Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and unfortunately I am still kinda sick, so if my voice sounds bad, sorry. Hopefully everything's okay though. And I will be good in a few days. So yeah, sorry about that everyone. But hopping into today's video, I want to talk about the A-Spec cards uh, from Temporal Forces. I believe these are more or less confirmed to be the A-Specs of Temporal Forces. Oh, there's one up here. Um, so we know we're getting seven, and one's going to be a special energy, and the rest are trainers. So that all adds up, and these have all been revealed in Japan, and I think are playable in Japan, which is pretty cool. So that means that we've seen those in that setting and seen some play, but I want to talk about how good I think they will be and how good they are. And I'm going to rank them. I actually don't have them ranked yet. I'm going to rank them on the spot. I kind of know. I know the best one. I know the worst one. I feel like that's not very divisive. But outside of that, I think the other ones could really go in any order you want. So the best one I'll say is obviously Prime Catcher, but we'll get to that. I'm not gonna beat around the bush for that one because like it's obviously the best A spec. You can make arguments for some of the other ones, but they're all more specific. Prime Catcher should definitely be your go-to. And then the worst one here I'll start off with is gonna be Master Ball. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal input into your hand, then shuffle your deck. We have Ultra Ball, right? Ultra Ball is like this. It's technically it's I mean, okay, there are actually situations, a surprising amount of situations where Ultra Ball is better because it's like the best discarding card right now. Sometimes you only want to discard one, not like two, but discarding is kind of important sometimes. And Ultra Ball does that. So Ultra Ball is a very good card. Master Ball is not like horrendously awful, but I don't think it's very good. It's also an item. So four of them are items, two are tools, and one is a special energy. So they're all kind of different. But that means that the items are all kind of competing for the same spot, except for that two of the items are not type specific, but like the one's ancient and the one's future. So those directly go with those stacks. So those aren't really competing. So Prime Catcher and Master Ball are directly competing against each other. And Prime Catcher is better than Master Ball. So I don't think this will really see any play. And I would not really recommend playing this. The one thing that I could see it being played in is Peony, which discards your hand and is just for two trainers, which you can get a rare candy and a Master Ball. But Peony's rotating, so they're in an action format together. Um, if you had some situation like that potentially, that's like super niche and something that like Prime Catch would probably be better, anyways. But I don't know. I think basketball is pretty bad. I don't think that's a hot take. I mean, I don't think it's awful. I actually think it's better than other people think it is, but I think it's still not that good. I think it's the worst one. Second worst one, I think, is Neo Upper Energy. Unfortunately, this is probably my favorite. I mean, it's a special energy which is really cool. Also, I really like the designs, like the pink designs. I think it's cool. But anyway, Neo Upper Energy, as long as it's attached to a Pokemon, it provides a colorless energy, and if it's attached to a stage two, it provides energy of every type, but only two energy at a time. So that instead of the colorless. So that's good, but it's not like broken good. The issue with this is it's kind of like reversal energy. Um, but it's like an ace spec, and it actually provides less energy. Reverse energy is different. It's an evolution. I was gonna say stage two, but it works in stage one and stage twos. Provides three energy of any type, but only if you're down on prizes. So there are obviously some limitations there, but like Neo Upper energy, you can make the argument for which is better, but at the end of the day, reversal is also not an ace spec, right? So this does work on rule box Pokemon. Yeah, ace. Sorry. This one works on non-rule or on rule box and non-rule box Pokemon. The reversal energy only works on rule box. Sorry, non-rule box. I told you I'm sick. So uh, obviously that means like in a deck like Charizard EX you could play this or Serena EX, but like there aren't really decks that, and admittedly the decks don't see play, but like there aren't really stage two decks that are two energy exactly. Because if it's three energy, this isn't like paying that. And if it's one energy, then I mean you don't need this. So you need like a stage two with exactly two energy, and there are stage twos like that, but they're not super common. And you look at one like Charizard EX, but it powers itself up. In post rotation, there's no path to the peak, so like you're not worried about that. It's hard to find uses of this card. It's not useless, by any means, but I feel like a card like Gardevoir, which could want it, that's rotating Gardevoir from Chilling Rain, which needs much energy. There are use cases, but and potentially those use cases could be really good, but I just don't think there are enough of them. Next stop, I think I'll go with Hero's Cape. Hero's Cape is one of the two tool cards, and it says the Pokemon this card is attached gets 100 extra HP. Now, potentially this is really good. Obviously, there are Pokemon like, say, Charizard EX, which I just mentioned, 330 HP. That's a lot of HP. Oh, also, I should say this is the Justin Basil website, super solid website you can check out for, like, these are proxies for, so if you're on proxies of cards, so yeah, it's useful. But anyway, Hero's Cape tool gives you 100 extra HP. This can be really big when like Charizard DX up to 430. There are ways to get into like the 500s or equivalent to 500. I assume you take into account like damage reduction as like extra HP, and you know there are things that can get really big. But Lost Vacuum's a card, and there are two different types of tools. There are tools that are like active and then like reaction. I don't know the term or if there is like really a term that's used, but there are tools that you use on your turn and tools that like really come into effect on your opponent's turn. So a tool that you use on your turn is like Force Seal Stone. You play it, you use it. Vitality Band, you play it, you do the extra damage, you use it right then and there. Obviously, those tools, they're tools. They're not just like they're not items. Well, that's a discussion for another day. But um, they're not items, so you can wait on them. You don't need to get the value right away. But if you wait on them, your opponent could potentially remove them, right? But then you look at a card like EXP Share, which has an effect that happens on I think it has to be your opponent's turn. I don't remember if it does or not, but like cards like that, which are your opponent triggers, or then Big Charm giving you extra HP, which isn't in standard, but or like Bravery Charm, which like give you extra HP. Your opponent can remove them before they attack you. That's of course the exact problem with Hero's Cape, and you can only run one copy of it. And then there's Lost Vacuum. So Lost Vacuum not only gets rid of it for now, but it gets rid of it forever because it lost zones it. Which is a pretty big negative for Hero's Cape. I think Hero's Cape has really high upside. Sometimes like I think even the highest HP other than Pokemon like Roy Moon and Giratina Visto just one shot, but ignoring those two, and I don't know if there's anything else like that. Nothing I can think of off the top of my head that's not rotating, but the things that like insta kill obviously will get through this, but then things that have to like deal damage, even like Chimpao EX, if you have like 400 HP, they're not getting like, well, they could get 7 energy, but that's pretty unlikely. So then you do have a lot of power from this card, but then they could just run a Lost Vacuum, and they obviously want a Lost Vacuum here, Hero's Cape. You could try to bait them out by like playing some other tools or stadiums, but like no, I don't think that's gonna work. I highly doubt that. So I think Hero's Cape can be really good, but I don't think it'll quite get there. Next up on the list, I'm gonna go with Awakening Drum. I'm not really sure where to put this card. It's interesting. It's a very simple item card. Draw a card for each ancient Pokemon in play. Each of your ancient Pokemon in play, so I can draw up to 6. So there are a few different decks that this could be used in, obviously all ancient decks. But you look at a deck like say Lost Sun with the Roaring Moon. Let's say you got 2 ancient Pokemon in play. This isn't complete trash, but it's not particularly good. Um, so you need, I think, at least 4 in play pretty consistently, and then the potential to get 5 or 6. I mean, you need to be a very ancient heavy deck to play this, right? And obviously there are ancient heavy decks. Well, okay, no, there aren't actually ancient heavy decks right now, but in the next set there will be in Temporal Forces, which is coming out in. Which there's a like an ancient toolbox deck, single price toolbox deck, which is pretty decent, pretty cool as well, and that will have ideally probably 6 ancient Pokemon in play, maybe 5. There are different ways of building it and stuff, but potentially 6 ancient Pokemon in play, at least 5. And that's pretty good. I mean, just draw 5 or 6. It's very good. It is essentially necessary in the deck as well. It actually adds to the damage. Um, and then you look at a deck like Raging Bull or like Roaring Moon, and you're going to be like, well, they probably don't have enough ancient Pokemon in play. Then there is Great Tusk. The single prize Great Tusk, which is a mill-based deck. And that could play this. I mean, you probably would rather have Prime Catcher, maybe Hero's Cape, probably not Hero's Cape, but you could play Hero's Cape. But Waking Drum's really interesting. Like whether you include it or not, but what it actually does isn't that interesting. It's just drawing cards. I think it'll see some play. I think it'll mostly see play in the ancient toolbox stack. in any ancient focus deck, right? But like in a really ancient focus deck, not just ancient Pokemon as your main attacker, but an ancient Pokemon, you need to be mostly ancient Pokemon, which does exist, but I don't know if we'll see this see too much play. But I think in the ancient deck, it'll 100% see play and be good there. And I think that'll be a decent deck. The deck I'm talking about is one with this Baby Roaring Moon, Baby Koraidon, potentially Fluttermane, potential, and then the this Great Tusk is the Great Tusk that I was talking about. But next up, what do we have? I think we have three left. We have, yeah, Prime Cash, which I said is the best, obviously. Maximum Belt and a Reboot Pod. Between Reboot Pod and Maximum Belt, honestly, I'm not sure which is better. I'll go with Reboot Pod as third. This is the future card. They're actually different. They're like very different, but they're like revealed together, so people look at them comparably, but they're very different. Attach a basic energy. Well, they're okay. Attach a basic energy from your discard to each of your future Pokemon in play. So obviously you want a lot of future Pokemon in play, but you don't need 5 or 6 future Pokemon in play. You just need like 3. Although like 5 or 6, I mean, you take that and you're probably aiming to do that, but you don't have to, right? You could be playing like Miraidon and put this in. Probably not, but you could. That is definitely an option. There's Iron Hands EX. There's also a single prize Iron Hands. Actually, I think there are two. There might just be one. I don't really remember. But there's this one, which is fine, and you could play that, and then play like Reboot Pod. Which this card can be really good because it accelerates a bunch of energy, but it also doesn't accelerate to one target. There are a lot of interesting ideas with this. There's a future toolbox deck with the Miraidon that'll definitely be playing this, and then you can use it with like Energy Switch, and there are a lot of interesting interactions here. I do think Future will be the best deck for Sort. I think Future Lost. I've said this before. I think Future Lost will be the best deck, and you could play Reboot Pod as like a another Mirage Gate, but it's also not Mirage Gate, which is good because Mirage Gate gets from the deck, which can be really good, but this gets from the discard, which can also be really good. So Reboot Pod does like some really nice stuff. It's not. It can be super broken, but it probably won't be super broken. It'll need some setup to be very powerful. Um, but it can just be like a nice addition to the deck and kind of round it out some. I think this card is quite good. But I think it'll mostly see play in very future focused decks, which is holding it back a little. In the second best card, we have Maximum Belt. Maximum Belt, I was talking wide. What was the card? Was that cape? Hero's Cape was like not as good because it was a reactionary. Maximum Belt you use on your turn, which is better. It attacks, but used by this Pokemon, do 50 more to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. Um, one warning: potentially Pokemon could introduce another mechanic that's like not EXs that it becomes very dominant in the game. And obviously there are Pokemon Vs and V stars and a few V maxes as well. Post rotation, although not too many V maxes, but this doesn't obviously do more damage to them. I feel like it would be better if it was to rule box Pokemon. I feel like I'd like that more, and I think that would be about as balanced. I mean, it would be better, but not like that much better, and I feel like that'd just be better game design. But anyway, I think Max and Bell is really good. I don't know the exact math to be honest, but when you look at a deck like Charizard EX, this is good. I mean, it's good. 50 extra damage is a very, very good chunk. Um, Originally when I saw this card, I honestly didn't think it would be that good, but now looking at it more, I think it's pretty good. And as I said, you get that immediate value. It's somewhat matchup dependent, but I think it's very good in Charizard EX. And I think it can be quite nice in some other decks as well, especially because EXs tend to have slightly higher HPs, or they have a bit of range of HPs, so this is useful in a lot of decks and a lot of matchups, especially with decks often now playing a lot of different attackers, or at least a few. You look at Miraidon and they have Raikou, and they have Miraidon and they have Iron Hands, which all have different amounts of damage. So I think Maximum Belt's a very good card, and I think you'll see a lot of play. We'll see what types of Pokemon we see. If we see like, for example, a deck like Raging Bolt wouldn't play this because it's a one-shotting based deck, which is Raging Bolt, for those of you who don't know, is very similar to Chien-Pao. On the other hand, a deck like Future Box, the Pokemon aren't generally going to be one-shotting as much, and potentially same with Ancient Box, although, as I said, that'll be playing. I mean, okay, those will probably be playing the Reboot Pod and Awakening Drum, but like there are decks that don't one shot that are actually pretty common right now. A deck like Arceus V Star is hitting at 200. If you boost up to 250, now you're one shotting pretty much any basic EX. So that's like really good. I think Maximum Belt can be really good. I'm not sure. I might switch this with Reboot um, Pod, but they're both good. I like Reboot Pod more than Maximum belt, but I think maximum belt's going to be pretty good. And of course, what did I do to the screen? Of course, first overall, I think is Prime Catcher. I don't think it's quite as good as everyone else thinks it is. I think it's good. I think it'll be like a nice addition, but I think some people are overreacting a little bit, but of course it is still very good. It says switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active. If you do switch your active with one of your benched, I don't know if you can just use it as a switch without switching your opponents up if they I don't think you can just use it as a switch if they don't have any bench Pokemon, but it's not a huge deal. This just is like Guzma as an item. This is quite good, obviously. Notably look at cards like Arven, specifically Arven, but then we also do have Iridon, things to search out items or trainers in general potentially. And this is very good because there's obviously this acts as a gust, but then you play like Iridite, it's a gust plus some Pokemon search. Or Irida or Arven becomes if you have Force Sealstone and this, that's a gust plus a search for anything. Of course, that's only once per game. The Spec is once per game. The Sealstone, the V-Star power is once per game. But like, you can get really good value out of this. And it's a really nice option. Boss is really important. Switch is really important and sometimes underplayed as well. And having a switch out, like another switch out, is actually really important. Um, right now, people I think run. I think people are starting to run more switch, but switch was counts were like really low for a little while. And that caused probably you could get trapped. And people are relying on manually retreating, but like Block Snorlax is it's a pretty good deck. It's not the best deck. I don't think it's not the best deck. I don't think it's the best deck. But I think it's top 10, probably not top 5. I don't know. It must be top 5. People aren't playing it as much. And it's kind of gone through some weird changes with Pidgeot and all that stuff. But like, I know Peloxonox is really good. This is good counter for it. And it's good in the deck. I mean, it's really nice in a lot of different scenarios because obviously it is gusting and it is that switch. The switch isn't super powerful, but I think it's underlooked. But then yeah, the gust is obviously like so good. Keep in mind it's not something you can really like rely on all that often, but it is a nice addition. The item cards and to some extent the tool cards. Honestly, it's all the spec cards. There's something you can't really ever rely on, um, and you can't really build your deck around. That means a card that just is a really good value. You see it and it's just good, is going to be good for your deck, and that's kind of what you're looking at. Versus people when they talk about Prime Catcher, and when I was talking about it with Irid and Arvin, that was like, yes, that is that one case. It's really good in that one case, but then you need to have it good the rest of the time as well. And you need, in that case, Irid and Arvin to be good without, say, Force Steel Stone, without Prime Catcher. And that's one mistake I see people make with Arvin. Uh, Pretty commonly, I think it's less common now. But people would play Arvin when essentially their only tool was Force Steel Stone. Maybe they'd chuck in like Choice Belt, but like Choice Belt isn't that good in a lot of matchups. It's worse than Maximum Belt. I think EXs are becoming very common now. So you'd play like Choice Belt. You'd be like, I don't need Choice Belt, and I also don't need Force Seal Stone because I already used it. So like Arvin gets like really bad. But and same with Ace Specs, right? You're not just gonna play Arvin because you play Prime Catcher. That's not good. You will end up in bad situation either because Prime Catcher's prized, discard already, or whatever. You can also recover Prime Catcher technically, but there's not really much reason to do that. The only ones that are worth recovering, the special energy and the tools, of course, could be recoverable. Um, and that is like a thing you could do. I don't know if unless something would be super popular. I don't think it will. And obviously, if the tools are lost, so then you can't do that. But then you can recover a reboot pod. I think people might try to recover a reboot pod with Silene. Silene is on the coin flip. I don't remember all the ways of recovery. Oh, you can recover it with Dark Red V-Star. Yeah, that's the thing. Dark Red V-Star does enable Prime Catcher some as well. Keep in mind, no path. It's fine. And I think that will be a thing that people do a little. I don't know if they'll do it with Reboot Pod, but I think they will do it with Prime Catcher, and that'll be good. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed my video. And if you agree with the rankings, or if you don't, comment that down below. Like the video, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I will be doing more content as well. I guess my content has been like normal, but I haven't actually recorded in a few days because I've been sick. But I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video. Yeah, I might be running another tournament again this weekend as well. I'm not sure. I really should like stop pushing myself so hard on the weekends, or maybe I'm not, but I kind of. I have hit in the tournament when I was sick. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. As always, I'm excited to see you next time.